After the historic visit to the United States, Prime Minister Modi will now begin a two-day visit to France. It'll also be high on impact as well as deliverables. Prime Minister Modi will be the guest of honor at the Bastille Day celebrations. A tri-services contingent from India will also be participating in the Victory Parade rally. Prime Minister Modi's visit coincides with the 25th anniversary of the Indo-French strategic partnership. He will hold talks and as well as attend a private dinner with French President Emmanuel Macron, as well as a joint meeting with CEOs. Ambitious outcomes are expected in technology, space, defense, geostrategy, and infrastructure. Let's get you an overview of the big deals that are expected to be signed over the next couple of days. First things first, we are all set to see a new deal for the Indian Navy for 26 Rafale jets for the INS Vikrant, the aircraft carrier. These 26 Rafale Ms will be delivered to the Indian Navy for use on India's aircraft carrier. On the anvil also is a deal for 3 Scorpene-class submarines, as well as an announcement that is expected on the engines for the Advanced Medium Combat Aircraft, the AMCA. Also, a decision is expected on the Jaitapur nuclear power plant project, which has been hanging fire for a number of years now. It is supposed to come up in Jaitapur in Maharashtra at around the time of the Indo-US nuclear deal being signed and ratified by the Indian Parliament. It's been multiple years since then. Nothing has moved on that project. And also an announcement is expected for further cooperation on next-generation helicopter engines. Sanjay Suri is now joining us live from Paris. Sanjay, we can see the Eiffel Tower in your background. What is the mood like there in Paris? And especially so, I mean, there'll be a lot of deals. I just outlined a few of them that could be expected to be signed over the next couple of days. But the weight of expectations coming as this visit does, just a few weeks after the historic visit to the United States, how much is there the weight of expectations as Prime Minister touches down in Paris tomorrow?
You know, there is, of course, great enthusiasm always for the Bastille Day parade. It's the big event in the calendar here, and this year it has a very Indian flavor, and that's going to be visible here on the streets of Paris. But really, what is of import and what is not lost on anyone is the economic significance of this visit for France. A lot of deals are expected to be signed, and these are major deals. They do a lot for the French economy, for people's employment, for the industry, for the economy. And therefore, India is being considered as a very promising partner. Certainly, India is bringing a lot of business to France. For India, that need is very clear. Almost, you would say, if not France, who? Certainly not Russia, given the engagement of Russia in its own war, that it is struggling to keep up. And the quality of its armor has been much questioned after that Ukraine war. With the US, yes, there was some talk about the Hornet, other aircraft systems, but there is always a question about the level of control the US Congress can continue to exert from time to time on a deal. We've seen sanctions. India has been hit by sanctions from the US after the 74 nuclear test, after 98. The French haven't politically gone that far, which is not to say that everything else is sorted out, but at least it does mean that politically these obstacles don't come in the way when it comes to the French.
And you were talking about the Russia-Ukraine war, and obviously that is going to be, a big topic of conversation when the Prime Minister and the President of France meet in their bilateral engagements. Clearly, India has taken a position that is slightly different from what most European countries have taken, and indeed the United States has taken as far as the Russia-Ukraine war is concerned. Even in Europe, between European countries, while in principle everyone's standing solidly behind Ukraine, the French seem to be taking a slightly more pragmatic approach. Is there any possible meeting ground, if you will, between India and France on the question of Ukraine, or can France afford to risk being seen as a bit of an outlier state in Europe when it comes to support for Ukraine and the means of that support in this almost never-ending war with Russia?
Well, the French position sometimes is a little difficult to read. The French have been quite emphatic in their support to Ukraine, and they have announced, in fact, on the eve of this visit, delivery of long-range missiles. The British were the first to come in with that. Now the French have offered it. But the French have always sought to try and keep Russia on board. We remember that long meeting on that long table between Macron and Putin before that invasion. Since then, France has tried to stay engaged. The fact is that it is well recognized in France that there's a point after which a confrontational attitude is not going to be productive. They continue to try and keep Russia engaged in some sort of dialogue. No clear end in sight, but at least that's a start. At least it keeps some gateway open. But the French have absolutely no doubt that they are backing Ukraine and that they oppose this invasion, and that is a fundamental principle that is not being compromised.
All right, we'll leave it at that. Sanjay Suri will be joining us live. He's going to have a busy next couple of days there in Paris as the Prime Minister touches down tomorrow evening, 4 o'clock India time. And then he's got a packed schedule with a diaspora event. And then there is a dinner that's there tomorrow as well in the presidential palace. And then there is another meal that the French president and the Prime Minister will be sharing inside the Louvre Museum. So it's going to be a really, really busy and packed schedule for the next couple of days.